Hello everybody, welcome back. Before we get started with the live today, I just thought I'd share some updates of what I've been up to here at my house in the past week. It has been so busy, but as you can see on the screen, I got my Sunday stars quilted. Isn't she just so pretty? During the quilt retreat last weekend, I was able to sit down for a couple hours and pick off papers, and it was a big pile of papers and it took a hot minute, but I got it done. Got her on the frame, she's quilted, and I did her binding, and she's been through the wash. So today I'm going to show you my completed Sunday stars. She's so soft and cuddly. We had a lot of fun during the quilt retreat. 24 hours is a long time. Several of us stayed up all night long. I was able to complete a order for a customer, 6 quilted pillows from a quilt that she had, so she can share with her family. I got that done. And in this past week, I have just gone to town learning more and more, like a sponge, all I can learn about digitizing and embrilliance. And this, I'm just thought I'd bring you along, is the first stitch out of a quilted Christmas ornament. I couldn't wait to stitch this out, and usually in the first stitch out you find out things that you want to change, things that you can do differently. But don't you just love watching things stitch out with the embroidery machine? I am learning so much. This here coming up is the actually second ornament that I made, and we're going to be doing this in a workshop in October on Patreon. It's going to be free for Patreon members. And on the home front, y'all, we've been picking green beans and canning them up. These are the last ones that I just got canned. And our freeze dryer is up and running. I am freeze drying some mashed potatoes from our garden. It's been busy. I can't wait to hang out with you today and just chat with you, go more into detail of what we've been doing, and yeah, I look forward to talking to you. Hopefully you can hang out for a minute. Let's go ahead and get started. Hello everybody. I'm so glad you're here. Hi everybody. How is everybody making out with this storm? Catherine, I saw that you're in Florida without power. We'll be definitely praying for you and everybody else. How's everybody doing? Hello everybody. It's cloudy here. We're under a coastal flood advisory where I am in Matthews, Virginia. But other than some rain and possibly coastal flooding, I think we're going to be okay through this. It's not even really hit it over top of us, but many of you it is. So we've been thinking about you. Keep us updated. Hi everybody. It's so great to see you. Did y'all see all the stuff that I've been working on this week? I've had so much fun. So much fun. Do you see behind me? Look. My Sunday Stars quilt is all finished. She's been through the wash and everything. I'm going to open her up here in just a minute. Someone asked me when I posted a picture of it over on Facebook, since I'm on a roll, am I going to quilt my other quilts that need quilting? Probably not. But I just really didn't want this one just to be piled on top of everything else that hasn't been completed yet. Do you know what I'm saying? And hopefully it's inspiration for you to finish up your quilts. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. So my mom is here today. I saw she was here in the comments. Hello, Mom. Peggy's getting ready to start on clue 18. Wow, you were making lots of progress. You made quite a bit of progress during the quilt retreat this past weekend. I had so much fun. I'm going to show you all a couple things that we did. No, I'm going to show you one thing that we did. Just one. During the quilt retreat, y'all, we had so much fun. Around 3 o'clock in the morning, though, we were all losing steam. And by then, I had finished all my pillows for a client's order. I had picked all the papers off of my Sunday stars. And I was sitting there with nothing to do. And I was like, you know what? Do y'all want to just digitize something and stitch it out? And everybody seemed to wake up. And we're like, yes, okay, so that's what we're doing. So I digitized with everybody a little snowman ornament, and then we all stitched it out. If you're on Patreon, I uploaded the stitch files for that. And if you don't have an embroidery machine, I uploaded tracing templates so that you could do it with your own sewing machine, maybe even applique. And I gave you the true size of what we stitched, and then I enlarged it so it would make such a cute mug rug. Matter of fact, we might even turn that into a mug rug here on YouTube. I don't know, but it is so dang cute. Anyway, it's cloudy today. I'm hoping that my internet holds up pretty well. I have my camera or my phone here, and it looks like we're going good, but we have Starlink. So when it's cloudy outside, sometimes that slows me down. Hopefully we're okay. But yeah, we had so much fun. Do you know what we're doing next month? I've called it the Fall Festival. What did I call it? The Fall Festival Quilt Retreat Weekend. We are Zooming Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 3 whole days. And I've built in times for workshops. I don't know about you, but if you have stayed up 24 hours nonstop, how productive are you the next day? I went to sleep around right after we were done. I woke up around 3:30, and it was hard to do anything the rest of the day. So next month, we're doing a 3-day quilt retreats, but with built-in sleeping time, so that nobody is overextending themselves that weekend, including myself. It was a lot of fun though. And then I have a little something to show you. Guess what I do with this? Just take a couple guesses if you're here live or watching on the replay. It's a piece of folded cardstock. See that? Guess what I do with this? We're going to demo this here live next week on YouTube. I'm going to show you how I do it, but I just want you to take a couple guesses what this is. Anyway, do you want to see? I've had so much fun learning digitizing and brilliance in my spare time. In my spare time, I'm having so much fun. So yesterday morning, in the wee morning, I digitized an ornament. This is my first stitch out. See how the edges sort of concave in, they kind of pull in a little bit. This was my first stitch out. It's double-sided, see that? Isn't that so pretty? Do y'all remember the Texas Star ornament? It's in my Etsy shop. It was a video from a few years ago, right? You might have even gotten the pattern. It was turned edge applique, a little ornament. It's so pretty. Do you know I've had a lot of people tell me that this is not a Texas Star? Which I agree, but the original quilt block that inspired that ornament was called a Texas Star from like way back in the early, before I was even born. So that's why I called it a Texas Star. But anyway, I took that ornament and I digitized it. It kind of looks like a sweater, doesn't it? Don't you love that? So this was the first stitch out, and it helped me see like what would happen when you stitch it out, right? Because you never really know. And then, well, let me just show you down here on my screen. And then I changed up the way I hooped it, right? Just a little bit. And I stitched this one out. But even though it's pretty, do you see the pulling and the puckering here and here? If I hold it just right, you can see it in the light. See that? I still wasn't happy. So I was like, the file is digitized correctly, but let me change the way I hoop things, and let me change the way I add my fabric in there, right? So this time I used 2 layers of wash away stabilizer in the hoop, And I ironed on a lightweight interfacing on the front fabric and on the back fabric. See that? And I pre-cut my batting and a piece of cutaway stabilizer that just fit just inside this. And this time, she is nice and plump and no puckering at all. Isn't that fantastic? So pretty. So this is going to be one of the workshops in Patreon during the quilt retreat next month. Yes, this is what I use to pre-make my binding, but I don't press my binding at all. I sew my strips together and then I go straight to the sewing machine with this. So if that sparks your interest, stay tuned for next week because I'm going to do a little live demo. It is totally a non-traditional way of preparing quilt binding. It probably breaks all kinds of quilting rules, but I'm okay with that. And I make my binding so fast and it turns out so plump and pretty. But yeah, if I have sparked your interest, stay tuned for this next week. In the quilt retreat, we stitched out this little snowman. Isn't that so cute? So I think maybe one of these Fridays, we will turn this into a raw edge applique mug rug because he's so cute. See that? So we stitched him out about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. And then, do you like freestanding lace ornaments? I digitized that. Do you see that? You can see through it. See the snowman through it? See that? I've been working on digitizing freestanding lace ornaments. Pretty cool, right? So yeah, I've been super busy. Having so much fun. Hi everybody, thanks for hanging out with me today. Today we're just chit-chatting. I'm not demoing anything, I'm not teaching anything, I'm really not learning anything, we're just hanging out. Yeah, the snowman, super cute, right? I learned a lot. I mean, we quickly digitized this, right? At 3 o'clock in the morning. There's a lot of things that I would change to this file. So if you are on Patreon and you get the stitch file and you stitch it out, just know there are things that I would change about it now that it's a week later and I'm not deprived of sleep, right? But it still stitches out really super cute. Super cute. Do y'all want to see my Sunday Stars quilt? Let me just tell you. When I was removing all the papers from that quilt, there were certain sections of paper, like if you've been thinking about this and you're like, oh, I still have to remove the paper from all my quilt. And what happens if all the paper doesn't come out? Let me just tell you, you're going to be fine. For the most part, on that quilt, all the big chunks of paper came out, right? But do y'all remember where the sashing comes together? And early on in the clues, we cut little squares of dark pink that were 2.5 by 2.5. And all the sashing parts, it's like the cornerstones, right? All the sashing comes and meets in that little square. I glued my papers on that fabric so much that there was no removing that paper, even after the quilt was sewn together, the top, right? So when I washed that quilt, all the paper from those squares were still in there. I couldn't take it out. And the little triangles that run along the edges at the end of the sashing, all of those papers were completely still in there. And here and there was little bits of paper that maybe I was extra like heavy-handed with the glue. The paper stuck in those areas. But I washed it, and when I took it to the washing machine, if I moved the quilt around, I could hear ruffling of paper. But it went through the wash, and let me just tell you, I was a little nervous because I don't have any more color catchers. None. And, you know, we have some pinks and some dark pinks, and I was a little bit worried about it, but I washed mine with the bedding setting on my machine, and I turned it to cold water wash. I added detergent, and y'all, I like fabric softener in my stuff. So I added some fabric softener and hoped for the best. And no running of colors, no bleeding, no nothing. And then I threw her right in the dryer on the bedding setting and just a normal dry, tumble dry, right? And she came out, and I don't hear no ruffles of paper. Everything is soft, and she looks fantastic. Let me go ahead and open her up for you. Isn't that so pretty? I just thought I'd bring her up close so you can get a close-up view. Oh, let me just show you. I had a hard time picking out a quilting design for this quilt. I didn't want anything with a bunch of straight lines for me, because this quilt has so many straight lines in it. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted something curvy, just to add a little bit of movement in there. And I didn't want anything densely designed, right? I wanted it very loose and flowy. You know, we have the pinwheel centers of some stars on mine. The pinwheels have a pretty thick seam right in the middle, right? So I wanted my quilting loose, but quilted adequately, right? So let me show you the quilting design that I chose, and I'll just put that on the screen. This is from Urban Elements, Bubble Clam Jam. That's what I used. Hi, everybody. Hello, it's so great to see y'all. Yeah, isn't she so pretty? And when I move her around, she's soft and flowy. Now, I do think a couple more washings and she'll be even softer. Do you know what I'm saying? I put so much starch in a lot of this fabric before I ever even cut it. And it was a stiff quilt top. It was a stiff quilt. So even though she's gone through the wash once, I do think over time, as we use her and we wash her, she'll soften up even more. But let me just show you. The fabric I chose for the back, which after I got the, you know, it's so hard buying fabric online because you think it's going to look one way, and a lot of the times that's the way it shows up, but sometimes you think it looks one way and when it shows up it's a little bit different than what you kind of expected, right? I love the stars because they're the same color as the dark pink on my front, and that's why I got it. But once the quilt top was done, I didn't really love the back fabric. I didn't. But I had 3 yards of it, and that's a chunk of money, and I didn't want to switch out the fabric. Do you know what I'm saying? So I used it. And now that I used it, I kind of really love it. So I'm kind of flip-floppy like that, right? But since I named this quilt after the colors, and it kind of reminds me of strawberry shortcake, you know what I'm saying? It kind of goes with the front. Wanda, you've been canning apple pie filling and applesauce and dehydrated apple slices. Wow, you're busy. I bet your house smells so good. So up close, you can see the quilting. See how wide this goes. And so I thought the chances of it actually hitting in the center of a pinwheel block was pretty low. And I watched it stitch through, and there was only one pinwheel where the line of stitching went through. But here's one, and see, that's the center. And the stitching went right on either side of it. But there is one star block where the quilting went through the center. And you know, I use an industrial quilting machine with industrial needles, and it didn't have a problem. But I could see where if you were quilting with a smaller needle, that might be an issue right there. But that's one of the reasons why I picked a design that was not really dense, right? Because the chances are I would miss most of those. And I just wanted to show you, look, on this quilt, I decided to put my little label on the front. Because, like, I'm super proud of this quilt, right? So there's my little label stitched on the front. But yeah, do you see this binding? This was made, actually I've been doing this for a year, y'all. And I've kind of hesitated in showing it because I know it's not a traditional way of making binding or preparing binding. Do you know what I'm saying? But I've been doing it for like a year now, and my binding turns out so lovely that I'm ready to share it with you. If you're someone who hates sitting there pressing binding for however long it takes, this was a pretty long binding, and it would have taken me a hot minute to press it all. The way that I prepare it, I don't press it at all, and it goes together pretty quickly. So next week I'm going to share that with you, and you can try it and see if you like the method, and or not try it, right? I just want to share it with you. Robin, I totally get it. Robin says life gets in the way. She's working on putting hers together. That's the truth, Robin. You know what? I do a really good job at keeping myself over busy. Well, Wanda got a bushel of apples from Miller's Amish Market for $13. That's a good deal. Mimsy, that's exactly. Mimsy said, if it works, who cares if it's traditional? And I would tell you what, once you're done with the binding, no matter, okay, so on this quilt, I sewed my binding to the back first and flipped it to the front and then stitched right near the edge. See that? There's not a lot of flange right there, and it's very nice and tight, right? Or if you attach your binding to the front and you flip it over to the back and then you stitch the ditch. Or if you stitch your binding to the front and you flip it over to the back and you hand sew it, either way, it would all turn out beautiful. It's just the way of preparing your binding. to get to that step. Cheryl, I did see your good news. I commented, but it was a few minutes ago, so in the chat before we started. I'm very excited for you and your new machines. I think that is so awesome. Let me move this out of the way. So what I have left to quilts of my own tops is my mystery medallion quilts. Whoops. Let me get that off. There we go. The mystery medallion quilts and my Lone Star quilt. Both of those are waiting. Maybe next week I'll throw one on the frame and get her quilted. Maybe. And that's all my news, y'all. I have nothing else to share with you, I don't think. That is it. I'm just looking at a note. Oh, so the Patreon 3-day workshop that we're going to do, or 3-day quilt retreat, I'm offering 3 different workshops, right? And so the workshops are not taking up the whole quilt retreat. And even if you're not interested in what the topic is, I hope you still come and hang out with us, right? I'm sure we'll still have small talk here and there during the retreat. You never know what you know what I have? I have FOMO. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I did not go take a nap this past quilt retreat, because you never know what you're going to miss. And we have had some times in the quilt retreats, not just the 24-hour ones, but the normal quilt retreats, right? So I have extreme FOMO. So even if you're not interested in a scan and cut machine or stitching embroidery, I hope you still come and hang out with us during that time. But the workshops are scheduled for only a couple hours in the whole day. Do you know what I'm saying? But yeah, so we're going to do 3 workshops. We're going to do the embroidery ornaments. And I will have, the week before the retreat, I will have the stitch file on Patreon and a materials list, so you can have your stuff ready to go before retreat, right? And then Saturday, we're going to do a scan and cut Q&A. So if you have a scan and cut machine, if you just got one, like I know many of you have, or if you've been on the fence and you're kind of considering it, that's a great time to join in. You can ask questions. I'll have my scan and cut here, and maybe we'll do some demos or like a live Q&A where you can ask me a question and I can show you, right? And unfortunately, I just have a scan and cut. I don't have a Cricut or a silhouette, but kind of the concepts are the same, right? Just different machines. Your functions might be in different places, right? But the concept is the same. And then Sunday, we're doing the Susanna Mug Rug Workshop. And do you want to see that? This is a mug rug that's coming out next month. This is a Susanna quilt block. Isn't she so pretty? And we're going to turn that into a mug rug. This is just the flimsy. I haven't finished it yet. But the pattern instructions give you 2 ways to make that quilt block. Traditional piecing, which requires you to cut some measurements like 3/8, 7/8, right? Especially this piece and that piece have some weird measurements. But the pattern also gives you paper piecing templates or foundations. This was pieced traditionally, and let me just show you. I lost my points in that middle. See that? Or let me not just hold it up. Let me just show you down here. This one was pieced traditionally with the funny measurements, right? And I lost my point here and a tiny smidgen here. And if you can see, she's a little cockeyed, right? When you cut pieces of fabric on that diagonal, it's really easy to go a little wonky, right? I do think I could stretch it and press it pretty straight. But during the workshop, I'm going to do the paper piecing version, right? And I have a huge sneaking suspicion that my paper pieced Susanna block will be perfect and spot on. So that is going to be on Sunday. And this is Patreon's free project for October coming up. Can you believe we're almost in October? I cannot even believe it. Jeanette, yes. I want to get you using that machine. You know, we buy all this stuff and then we don't use it. It's like buying a sewing machine with 160 decorative stitches and then we only use 4. Right? So yeah, come on and hang out with us that day and we'll do an interactive workshop. It'll be lots of fun. Peggy says, I have a scan and cut, but I don't even have it hooked up yet. Break it out of the box, Peggy. Get the power cord out, plug it in. Get your mats ready. Oh, Stephanie's getting ready to go on vacation. Safe travels. Gail said, can you do a workshop in the near future on taking a photo and making a pattern like the photo you used in your last art quilt? Yes. I think that's a good topic we can do on a Friday. Let me make a note. Lots of people have actually asked for that. And then when I go to make a video, I'm like, what can I make a video about? Art quilt from photo. I will put that on the list. Maybe we'll do it not next Friday, but the Friday after that. Just know that I really feel like those kind of quilts are so subjective, right? And I know there's lots and lots and lots of people who make art quilts. And so my methods, the way that I came up with that art quilt might be different versus other quilters who were going to make a quilt using a photo, right? But I'll show you what I do. And maybe that'll inspire you. Maybe that's exactly what you need, is to see that. But just know that my way is not the only way. But I'll show you the ways that I go about making a full-size pattern from a photo. How about that? Sharon, you're getting your car serviced. Wanda has a photo of a covered bridge that she wants to make into a quilt. Wouldn't that be so pretty? Peggy, your birthday's next Saturday. Happy birthday. I don't know that I'll see you before next Saturday. Well, I'll see you next Friday. I guess I will see you. Yes, time is zooming by. It's already almost October. I don't know. I mean, I guess, you know, growing up, elders would always say, time goes by faster as you get older. And I would always think, whatever. Okay. But it does. It really, they were so right. As I get older, the years go by so much faster. It is crazy how fast this past year has gone by. Okay, Gail. Well, I'm glad I can explain things in a way that registers, right? And I would be glad. We'll do it. I wrote down on my note 2 Fridays from now. So not next Friday, but the Friday after that. I use a website that is free. So I'll share that website with you. But before we even get to that website, there's a process that I do, right? So yeah, I'll be glad to share all that with you. Anitra, yes. Yes. Yo, I don't have a lot of other stuff to talk about. Do y'all have any questions, like stuff that we could go over today? I didn't bring nothing to sew. I didn't bring anything to demo. Nothing. I also said that I was going to change the time of my lives. I do think I'm going to start coming on a little bit later in the day. Not right at lunchtime. And I still have not decided when we're starting the butterfly pixel quilt. I have mixed thoughts on it. I really want to start it sooner versus later. That's just me. The sun's coming out. I think I've lost my chat. I hope not. Oh, there it goes. It moved. Linda says she has been so consumed because she's so close to getting her Sunday stars finished that she hasn't even decorated for fall. Would you remind us how to stitch out fall, sweet fall words? I had a quilt that said fall, sweet fall one time. Is that the project that you're talking about, Catherine? I did that one with raw edge applique. And that was a lot of fun. Wanda said that Lance told her every time he goes in her sewing room, it smells like a fabric store. When I think, and you say remind us how to stitch out fall, sweet fall words, I think that there's so many different ways to do it. Back in the early days, you know, some of y'all don't like stitching down skinny, thin words or letters, right? When I think back in the early days of my YouTube videos, back when I was in Hampton, and within the first year of me making videos, I made a Valentine's Day mini quilt with conversation hearts. And at that time, I did not have an embroidery machine at all. I had never had an embroidery machine. That was before I got my Bernina. And I am one who always thinks where there's a will, there's a way, and you don't have to have fancy machines, fancy software to accomplish something that you want to do. It might take longer. It might take a heck of a lot more patience. And it might take a skill set that requires you to practice to improve it, right? But where there's a will, there's a way. And that quilt, you know, conversation hearts for Valentine's Day, the candies, and they have the little sayings on the hearts, right? I wanted the sayings on the hearts, but to look like a conversation heart, the words had to have skinny letters. So I was like, you know what? We're going to do a satin stitch on my regular sewing machine, and it's going to look like it was done on an embroidery machine. It took a heck of a long time, but I got it done and it looks so dang cute, right? I think that's an option. So if you never saw that video on YouTube, in the search box, type Lisa Capen conversation hearts and see if the video doesn't pop up. It should. But that's a way to put home sweet or fall sweet fall words on a project, right? Especially if you don't have an embroidery machine. If you want bigger words, raw edge applique is the way to go. That's the way I think. Miss Hazel, how are you doing? I'm so glad to see you here. That's exciting, Jeanette. She is cleaning out her living room to make it her craft area. I think that's awesome. We were talking during the retreat. Do you know there's two things that I miss about the house we lived at before moving here? I changed my mind. There's three. The first is that we aren't closer to the kids, right? We were like 25, 30 minutes tops, depending on traffic, drive away from where my kids are, right? Now we're an hour away. So the location of being close to them. The ovens in my kitchen in the previous house, I had dual ovens, right? One on top of the other. So you could cook something at 350 in this one and something at 400 in this one, right? I missed that. And the other thing is my design wall. Jeanette was talking about a craft room. That was what popped up in my head, my design wall. I miss having that design wall. That was awesome to have. Now I just have stuff laying everywhere. You know, I would do little projects and I would pin it up on the side, right? I could be planning out quilt blocks. That design wall was so big, I could pin up a queen size quilt and plan it all out, standing up at the design wall, and still have space on the side to pin up projects that I was working on, right, that weren't finished. I miss that design wall. But other than those three things, that's it. Hi, Sue. Sue, you're watching on TV. Yeah, Faye said if the hearts are individual, you could draw the words with a scan and cut using I'm not quite sure what kind of pen that is, but yes, you could do that too, right? There's probably a million different ways to do it. I always forget that I can use my scan and cut to draw or to write stuff. Yes, the double ovens. That's like if I could change my kitchen and there was space for it, which there is not. I would love to have a double oven. Mimsy, you found it. Thank you so much. Mimsy posted the link for the video of the conversation hearts. So that's an option of ways to add words to your projects, right? If you don't have an embroidery machine. Hazel said, what about a foldable room divider so it's not up all the time? I've thought about that, like one on wheels or something, but I am so tightly packed in this room. Like I have my batting on an IV stand, which is so helpful. Because like, I don't know where I would, there's no space underneath my long arm frame for this roll of batting, right? So I don't know where I would put that. But having an IV stand with my batting on it is lovely. And I thought, well, maybe there's got to be some kind of folding, like 3-part thing on wheels. But I really honestly don't know where I would wheel it to without it being in the way somewhere. Do you want to see my batting on my IV stand? Have I ever showed you that before? Laurel, you've had foot surgery. Oh my goodness. Well, I'll be praying for you for a fast recovery. It sounds like you've got a lot of work to do. Bye, Mom. I'll see you shortly after I'm done. I'll come over and visit. You want to see it? The batting on my IV stand? Okay, hold on a second. See, it has the wheels at the bottom. I have the cover of my batting on here because I don't like it to get dusty. But I'll take it off. So here she is, and she just rolls around my room. Trying to get it so you can see the whole thing, but she's taller than what the camera shows. So I can just wheel her right around. And on the top, let me see if I can do this. I took the part that actually hangs the bags for the IV off, right? And it's just the pole. And I just slide the roll of batting on and then lift it up like that. If you buy rolls of batting, I'll put the link. Let me write that down so I don't forget. Last week I said I'd put a link for my clips and then I never did. And then someone said, I don't see the link for the clips, so I had to add it. Let me write it down. That is so helpful to have that. And then I'm not picking up a, like there was more batting on that. I've done several quilts, right, from that roll. But those things are kind of heavy, right? I'm not picking it up and messing with an awkward roll. I have little binding clips that are just keeping it together neatly at the top and bottom. I just take those clips off and I measure it out, right? And it just unrolls. And then I clip the binding and then cut right down. or not the binding, the batting. And it saves my back a lot of work. Bye, Miss Beverly. Batting scissors. I've never heard of such a thing, although I'm not surprised there are batting specific scissors. I just use my big ones like that. Evelyn, how did you make out during the storm? I see you're getting stuff put back in place. No damage here. Okay, good. Good. I know I've been thinking about y'all. You know what? I hate to be a Debbie Downer. But I was watching somebody doing a forecast and they were showing, okay, they were showing the storm that just came through. And then they said around October the 5th, there's another one that's going to be approaching. And then like 5 days after that, there's another one. Of course, you know, things can change between now and then, right? But 2 more storms kind of out there headed in that same path. Francis, I got mine on Amazon, and I'll put a link in the description box after we're done here. I made a note so I don't forget, and I'll do it before I even get up after we're done. If you want to check it out, it's just an IV stand, but it's a pretty heavy duty one. And it works so great. Oh, it has a nub on the end to prevent snagging. I'll have to look into that. Don't really get any snagging when I'm cutting mine, but can you ever have enough scissors? Maybe I'll add it to my Christmas list. Zedra Rose. Amazon. I'm going to put a link down in the description box when we're done. Lindsay said no. I think she said no because I said, can you ever have enough scissors? Did y'all see the scissors that came as like a bonus with my baby lock? Did I show you those? Hazel said, I thought you went snooping around a hospital. I'm pretty sure they'd see me wheeling that thing out the doors, Hazel. Do you think they would? Jean, I specifically wore jeans today because I knew I was going to stand up and show my Sunday stars. But let me just tell you, I kind of live in capri stretchy pants in the last 6 months. So as soon as we're done, I'm changing. Oh, the scissors are bent too. I'm going to check them out, Anitra. And that might be something good to add to my Christmas list. I'm at the point, right, where, you know, usually if there's something we want, we just get it, right? And so when Christmas comes around or birthdays or whatever, and people say, well, what would you like to, what's some ideas? And I draw a blank because I don't know. But that would be a good thing to add to the list. I don't think so, Evelyn. It would not, would it? Let me show you my scissors, since we have nothing else to talk about. and I want to hang out at least another 6 minutes or so with you. So when I bought my baby lock, right, Ken Sewing Center, it was on sale and it was a great price. But I also got to choose between 3 different bundles, right, that came as an extra bonus, which was awesome. I don't remember if these scissors were an extra with the machine or in the bonus package that I got. I forget now. It's all running together. But look what came with it. These are Genomes. Look at this box. Look how nice that is. That's so fancy. Look at all these scissors. And what reminded me of it was I was looking for batting scissors in here, but I don't see no scissors with nubs in it. But there's all tweezers. These are my favorite kinds of tweezers for doing embroidery stuff and clipping the jump threads, right? See that? They're flat on the bottom. These grab threads right at the base of right at the base of the thread. Those are lovely. This, I don't even know what this is, y'all, but it's got a razor blade that you put in here. You unscrew this and this, I guess, and you put that razor blade in there. This looks scary to me. Like, I don't know that I'll ever use this with the way my hands are shaky. I guess, you know what? I would say seam ripper with a razor, but I would be so scared that, you know, my hands shake, I would cut my fabric with it. I don't know. What would y'all use that for? And then these I have used quite a bit here lately, but do you see how they're kind of curved? And they've got a really good sharp cutting edge to them. I've been trimming my extra fabric with those. I like that they're little. These little plastic things, I think I'm going to get rid of them. They're a pain. Look at these things. They have a little baby tip. I guess like if you want to get inside something and snip, I don't know, what would you use those for? But then we got some big mambo jumbo scissors, which I'm not going to use yet because I have a couple pairs of this size and I'm going to keep a backup, right? These. I don't know, just normal scissors. Like I would cut my hair with these bad boys. I'm going to take that off. And then some snips, right? And I'm not going to use these in case something ever happens to the couple pairs I have. Now these do not have the serrated edges like these do, I don't think. But they're Genome ones. And then what are these? The duckbill ones. I have a hard time using these. Do y'all like using these? And then these, which are really nice for trimming work inside the hoop, right? I haven't used these yet. But these are actually different than the ones I have. Do you see that? The ones I have go down, come up, and straight across. These are really shaped much differently. See that? Interesting. Yeah, can you ever have enough scissors? No batting scissors though, so I guess I can add that to my Christmas list. I've never seen those for embroidery. What are they called again? Diane, I'm not sure which ones what you're talking about. But these, I like these for trimming, like the extra, like let's say you're doing embroidery, right? And in the hoop, you're doing applique. And you do a placement stitch and you lay your fabric down, but you haven't pre-cut your fabric with a cutting machine, right? You just lay a big extra piece on there and then it stitches down a tack down stitch, and then you come in and you trim the extra fabric. That's what I like using these for. And they're super sharp right now. Can you sharpen these? I guess that's my question. Ah, the pointy ones would be good for snipping tight stitches. Oh, it's a stitch scalpel. That sounds like a box of Band-Aids to me. I'm scared to use that thing. Ah, yeah. Okay, Peggy, I see. Peggy said when we stitched this out, and I'm sorry, my lighting is horrible. It's overcast today. When we stitched this out, see how it comes down to a pointy area? And then we trimmed away all the extra fabric and batting, and it was a little tight to trim that close in that V section there. See that? Maybe those little snips would work great for that. I didn't even think about it. Faye said like a seam ripper, but far more scary. I agree. Hazel, the duckbills work the same way too. And see how they have, like if you hold them, see how they have a curve to the handle? So these are great for trimming things in the hoop too. I just have a hard time cutting my extra fabric really close to the stitch line with these. And it's probably because I'm doing it completely wrong, but I have tried several times. I have another pair. I have a hard time cutting really close to the stitch line with these, but I haven't given up on using them. I just have a far easier time with the smaller ones like that. Ah, Zeta Rose has batting scissors. All right, I'm convinced. That's 2 people now. I will put them on my Christmas list. Anitra, you're always saying words that I do not even know what that is. And I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. What is that? Hazel, they do. They look like something you'd use in surgery. Look, I could be a doctor today. I have my IV stand, my surgical tools. Maybe Harlan will come home with a splinter or something. I can do some surgery. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't think I want to use those. Nitra. Yeah, they're scary looking for sure. But yeah, I reckon you can never have enough scissors, right? A couple of these I don't have at all, and a few of them, like this is a duplicate. So like I feel like I could just save this for one day when my scissors that I use aren't sharp enough for what I'm doing, right? I have a backup. Anyway, I thought that that was a really nice little bonus, right? It's really nice. Jacqueline said, are you going to create any Halloween and Christmas sew-along quilt? Probably not. I'm planning on doing some Christmas projects, but since we just finished up Sunday Stars, probably not a sew along. I am planning on doing a snowman mug rug with applique, right? This is just the ornament, but I'll enlarge this and make it into a mug rug. Small projects like that. I do have in the planning, and I'm not sure when we're going to start, the butterfly pixel quilt, and that'll be a sew along that I kind of really want to start before Christmas, y'all. And if you want to make it, but you don't want to start before Christmas, I don't think it would be hard to catch up if you wait till after Christmas to do it. Probably not any Halloween stuff. Some Christmas stuff, yes. I don't know. I might do something Halloween. I don't know. That's kind of a spur of the moment right now. Do you know what I'm saying? When the mood hits, I do it. Kind of, that's where my headspace is. I think the Sunday Stars quilt took so much like energy that now I'm just kind of like winging it willy-nilly fashion. Jean, the scissor kit came with my baby lock. I also got thread, a nice case of thread, and a whole bag of extra feet, which was really nice. And the bonus kit came with the magnetic 5x7 hoop. That's why I chose that particular bonus kit, was for the magnetic hoop. And I've used it quite a lot. I think, Laurel, that there's a lot of different reasons why you would use the duckbill scissors. But, and I don't have anything I can show you with specifically, but I can do a mock-up of a demonstration. Okay. Let me find them. We're just going to do a mock-up. All right, so one of the ways that I would use them is doing stitching projects in the hoop, right? Like this, a quilted snowflake ornament. She's quilted, see that? And let's say that, because I did start with a square of red fabric, right? And then it stitched out the hexy shape. And then before it did that satin stitch, I needed to trim away all the red extra fabric, so when it does the satin stitch, it's a nice clean finish on this ornament. You could use the duckbill scissors while everything is hooped, right? And pull the red extra fabric up and trim that extra fabric. And you're supposed to be able to get really close to the stitch line with these things, but I'm going to tell you, I struggle with them. I struggle. I have a much easier time using something like this, like curved snips. I can get really close and tight with these things, but these I struggle with. But this is one way that I would use them. I'm sure there's lots of other uses for them, but that's how I would use them. Gail said, I printed off the snowman. Do I trace out each piece separately? If you're doing raw edge applique, you can pick and choose which pieces you're going to make and cut, right? Like the scarf, I made 2 different colors, but you could trace the whole scarf shape as one piece instead of individual pieces and cut that out. Or you can cut out the individual shapes and make them many different colors, right? And then you'll trace the feet go trace the knits and all the hat parts, and yeah, cut them out individually and then bond them to a background fabric. But if that sounds really confusing, I am planning on doing that as a project here on YouTube. So, Evelyn, I probably am cutting in the wrong direction. I'm going to tell you. Oh, Wanda, you're doing pears next. You know what? We went through all of the apples we picked up in Vermont. And so we gave a great big, I don't know how many bushels of apples we brought home. But when you know big totes like this, right? Like the like a Joann's tote. Have you ever gotten a big Joann's tote before? Right? That size tote filled with apples. We brought home 3 of those. And we gave our neighbor a bag, a tote, because he took care of our chickens while we were gone, right? So I had 2 totes, and I gave 1 tote to my parents who canned some apples, but then they did 1 batch of canned apples, and I think they were done. And they were like, here, we have all these extra apples. So I took them, and then I freeze dried 2 batches of apples. Let me just tell you, they are delicious. I did plain apples, and then I did apples sprinkled with cinnamon, which are delicious. It tastes like you're eating an apple pie. And then I did apples, and you know when you're in the produce section, right? And where the apples are, they have those containers of caramel dip that are so good, right? I did several trays of apple bits that I stirred in the caramel dip, so you're eating caramel apples freeze dried. Like when you start, it is hard. Oh, there's a huge spider outside my window up there. It's hard to stop eating them once you start. That spider is humongous. Oh my glory. That's the first time I've ever seen it. I cannot wait to start getting some real fruit off of our trees. I think we have a couple years to wait though. Faye has used duckbill scissors to cut between 2 fabrics for trapunto work. I'm sure there's a lot of really good, helpful reasons why you would use these. Let me put them back in the case so I don't forget. And then I think we're going to wrap up for today. I'll go eat some lunch. I am working on digitizing a thing for my daughter who has no idea how embroidery works, right? But her and her best friend have been reading this book series, and her best friend's birthday is coming up, so she was like, Mom, can you make us some sweatshirts that match based on this book series, right? And she's like, I'll send you some pictures of what I want. And I'm like, sure, I can sublimate it. That would be fast and easy. But she bought black sweatshirts, and that doesn't work for sublimation. So she's like, can you do it in embroidery? And of course the mom in me is like, sure. But then I start like creating the stitch file for it, and I am in about 6 hours now of digitizing, and I'm not even close to being done, but I'm not fast either, right? Because I'm still learning. 6 hours just digitizing it. And then she sent me some pictures yesterday, and she's like, I also want this going up and down the sleeves. and I want a little chest logo, and I'm like, Bethany, I will buy you these sweatshirts already made. It would save me a lot of money and time if I just buy them for you versus making them. But the mom in me is like, sure, we can do that, honey. I would do that for you. Sue really wants to wait until after the first of the year with the butterfly quilt. You're not alone, Sue. There are several people who want to wait. It's just I'm so dang excited about it. It's hard to wait. Roanoke, Virginia. You're not that far from me. I'm in Matthews, Virginia. Roanoke is so pretty. I love going through Roanoke. Anitra, you know. You're making costumes and all kinds of stuff, you know. And we're not alone. There's several of us who do the same exact thing. And you know what? I would never say, this has taken me hours. Hours. We'll just stitch it out and go, here you go, honey. Kay said, how do you get the snowman pattern? Well, if you're on Patreon, Kay, the things are listed on my Patreon page. If not, stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification for all so you get notified when I do new videos, right? Well, you must be subscribed because you're in the chat, so thank you. But make sure you hit the bell notification because I'm going to turn this into a mug rug, right? Probably the size of this, maybe a little bit bigger. Like this is my chicken one, right? But the snowman will be enlarged and we'll put him on a background like that and make a little mug rug from him. But I haven't done that yet, so stay tuned. Sheila, my Nana made sweatshirts that are cross-stitched. Those are, I would love to know how many hours she had put into making all of those. She made a whole bunch. You're absolutely right, Zeta. People have no idea. And how would she know? You know? How would she know that it's going to take hours just to design the stitch file? Much less stitch 2 sweatshirts, a big thing on the back of each, sleeve, work, and a chest logo on each sweatshirt. But, you know, how would she know that? Because she's never done embroidery, right? So, I mean, I get it. And that's, you know, clients and customers when they come to you and you're like, it's going to be $400. And they're like, why? I can go to Walmart and buy it for $20. They have no idea how long it takes, right? And the cost involved in what you do. So they're like so surprised. And it's just because that they don't know. Hello, Christy. I was wondering where you were. I'm so glad you're here, but we're getting ready to go. So you're going to have to come back on the replay and catch everything. But I'm glad I had a chance to say hi. Oh, yay, Kay. That's awesome. You're making t-shirt quilts. I have a t-shirt quilt I'm getting ready to start in October. And when I think about my t-shirt quilt videos, I think I've covered like all the stuff that there is to cover, but probably not. But when I think, well, I'll make a video about that when I'm doing the quilt, but I already have a video on that. I've kind of run out of ideas for videos with t-shirt quilts, but if you have questions, maybe it would be a great video topic. I'm starting her quilt probably after the first week of October, so that should be fun. All right, everybody, I think I'm going to go eat some lunch, work on some digitizing for these sweatshirts, and there's something else I was going to do today. Oh, we have some butternut squash that I need to can, so I don't know if I'm going to do that later today or tomorrow. Have you ever canned butternut squash? You know what? And my baby lock will digitize stuff. It sure will. But when you digitize it yourself, you have way more control of the stitches and what kind of stitches get assigned to stuff. Like it might just do a fill stitch on all the stuff, right? But maybe I want a feathered stitch, just kind of like a shading. I have control over that, right? And I have control of what stitches in what order, jump stitches, or doing a run instead of a jump. Like you have way more control when you digitize stuff versus doing it in the machine like that. So that's why I'm doing it that way. Although, had a thought about it, I might have just started with the machine, and what it is, right? I don't know. But I've enjoyed the learning process. And each project I do, I learn something more, right? So, all right, everybody. I hope y'all have a fantastic week. If you're in the path of the storm or you're recovering after the storm, please be careful. Keep us updated. Share pictures of all the projects you're working on right over on Creative Crew. And yeah, next Friday, I'm going to show you a shortcut on prepping binding. Who would have known, right? And then the Friday after that, I'm going to show you my process for designing an art quilt from a photo. Not a pixel quilt, but an art quilt like the landscape quilt, like the Yorktown Pier quilt that I recently did, right? So there you go. There's our video lineup for the next couple of Fridays. Just know that I forgot to do it this week, but I might alter the time a little bit later on Fridays. Okay? All right, everybody. Have a fantastic weekend. I'll see you next Friday. Bye, everybody.